What's going on, beautiful student athletes? You all just finished watching the video called The Importance of Education in the Pursuit of College Athletics. A couple of things that I want to underscore from that video. First of all, it articulates a number of opportunities you have should you want to continue to compete within collegiate athletics outside of your high school. There's three divisions. There's Division One, which is the most that you're probably the most familiar with. That's the highest level of competition. Division Two is also competitive, offers scholarships as well as Division One, and then there's Division Three. Division Three are typically small private institutions. They have athletic programs, but they do not have scholarships. So that is something you would have to work out. However, even though there are three opportunities, you see that the percentages of beautiful young people that go on to compete after high school is relatively small. So, the underscoring message and conversation for today is that your education transcends your sport. Your education is positioning you for life beyond high school, life beyond sport, and there's ample opportunities to continue learning. But it is all rooted in how you approach, what kind of attention, what kind of focus you give to what you are doing in high school in the classroom. The classroom is the most important thing. Athletics is a complementary to that. It's co-curricular, it's team oriented. It gives you an opportunity to develop bonds with fellow peers and colleagues, but it is co-curricular. For some of you, it will be an opportunity to continue at the collegiate level, but for the vast majority of beautiful student athletes, it is simply something that will conclude in high school. And so I want to put a premium. I want to underscore the importance of you all focusing on your books, you all focusing on learning, not just for a grade, not just for an immediate outcome, but that you put that information permanently into your mind so that you can access it at a later time. All education is progressive, it builds upon previous learned moments. It's called stacking, it's a curricular stacking. Once you learn one level of information, it then positions you to then take on new, more profound, complex material. So each step along the way is important. It's critically important that you learn your lessons in pace, that you learn the first lesson first. And that allows you ultimately to continue to build upon learning. Now, why is that important, beautiful student athletes? It's important because most career opportunities, most entrepreneurial ventures in the future, and even if you are to continue sports, sport is both physical and intellectual. However, the jobs of the future, the jobs of this era, and even increasingly so in the next era, are going to be technological and they're going to be intellectual, meaning your capacity for opportunity, for career promotion, for growth, for advancement is likely strongly tied to how you process information, how you critically problem solve. And these are all things that come from the skill set of formal education. And so, this is the conversation that you all are going to be having with your coaches about the wonders and benefits of athletics, absolutely, but also what are the benefits of education. Beautiful student athletes, I understand that in high school there's a lot going on. You're coming of age, you're just coming off puberty in some kind of sense. Social scene is popping, you're curious about the world. I understand that and respect that. But these are also once in a lifetime opportunities. If you're in a class, whether it's math, science, English, whatever the case may be, and you give it a half effort, well, once that class is over and that grade is recorded, you have a permanent representation of that in the grade, but do you have a permanent manifestation and ownership of it in your mind? Education is not for grades, it's for putting information into your mind that you forever remember so that you can access it at a later time. And so this is a conversation that you've just witnessed, that we're kind of having at this particular moment, but also that you're going to have with your coaches afterwards, about the importance and the premium of focused formal education. It is critical to the quality of your life in the future when you take on the wonderful status of husband or wife, and ultimately the wonderful and beautiful status of parent. When that is coming in the future, the quality of your life, beautiful human beings, is tied to decisions that you make in the now. And so today I want to offer an example, the example of a gentleman named Paul Robeson. Paul Robeson was born a century ago. He was an intellectual. He was a thinker, a scholar. He went to Rutgers University and then ultimately went on to pursue a law degree. Simultaneously, he was also interested in the arts. Not only was he a thinker, but he also was a creative. He was an orator. He spoke on contemporary issues of his time. He was an activist. He was a singer, known for a baritone voice, and he sang in a number of plays and theatrical performances. One of those received an Oscar. So not only was he a college graduate, he was an attorney who went to law school, practiced law, but he was also a creative artist in terms of singing as well as acting. And then he was also an NFL player. He was an individual who was multi-talented. That's what we call a Renaissance man or a Renaissance woman, a person who puts their talent skills to multiple different genres of information or of cultural things or different things of passion points and interests, and they mastered it. But the only way you can master anything is if you focus in on it. Life going forward is no longer what your parents may have experienced, where they worked agriculturally or they worked industrially. A lot of the new opportunities are working in technology, managing people, finding ways to improve upon different product. So your capacity for satisfaction and happiness in the future is tied to that math class you're taking. It's tied to that English class you're taking, to that language course you're taking, to that government class, the history, the social studies, and just the way you get ready for games, whether they're softball or volleyball or soccer or a basketball or football, just the way you practice intensely, you listen to coach, you rile each other up, you get hype, you're in the weight room, you're watching film, you're intentionally preparing for the next competitive opportunity. Oftentimes you participate in those games and you can see the outcomes, which is a measurement of how you performed, how you practiced, how you prepared. But unfortunately, in life, we don't get a game a week that measures how we're doing in terms of preparing for adulthood. That is something that we have to sort of honor the process, learn the first lessons first. This is about producing champions for life, not champions as accolades of trophies and medals and ribbons and titles. I hope those come along for you in abundance. But this is about champions in life, which means when you're grown, let's just use the age of 45 arbitrarily, will you be satisfied with the life that you created? Will you be satisfied with the type of employment, the profession, the career you have, the relationship you have, the quality of connection with your beautiful children? Is your friendship robust? Do you have healthy hobbies and you're able to travel? Those kinds of things are all tied to the way you focus in primarily on your intellectual self at this moment. So, beautiful student athletes, in the image and example of Paul Robeson, I hope you check it out. I hope you aspire or are on the pathway to being your own Renaissance person, but you can't skip the drill. You can't cut the process. It's going to require significant focusing on the books. You're capable. You're that complex. You can handle it. It's going to require a focus in during season and off season in terms of preparing your body physically, mentally, nutrition, how you take care of yourself. But undoubtedly, at this time in your life, whether you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior, critically, if you're a senior because you're getting ready to move on to a next major stage of life, it's critically tied to how you own each moment with putting a particular premium on this thing called education. Education is the fundamental foundation of your intellectual self, your thinking self, your scholarly self. And beautiful young folks, that's what you're going to rely on. That's what you're going to rely on in college if you decide to go. Even if you don't go to college and you take on a particular job, a trade, whatever the case may be, some of that you might do with your hands, but a lot of that you would do with your mind. The future, I guess to say it differently, adulthood is a constant stream and sequences of decision making, taking advantage of opportunities, a sense of personal confidence, confidence that you'll gain through sport, but also confidence that you gain because you can master and understand information. You can understand how it connects. You can get inspiration from it. If you just lean in, just like you all have had a runner's high if you're a long distance runner in cross country, where you just were in the zone and things slow down and you can anticipate the next play before it even happened. That's an athletic high. You're in a sort of a zone. You can also achieve that intellectually. You can achieve that scholarly if you understand the importance and the position that education ought to be in your life. Put a premium on it, focus in on it, and you can have balance. You can be both student, intellectual, athlete, physical, competitive, fun, has ample life lessons tied to it. But in this moment that you're in right now, you really got to focus in and decide of all the identities you have right now with just dealing with two, student and athlete, there's many, many more. Which one ought to be the dominant, authoritative lead in your life? Beautiful students, I hope that you all will consider that to be student, because student will make sure everything else has balance. But if you put too much premium on athleticism, if you put too much stock in your capacity to achieve what is next for you, whatever your next goal is, if you exclusively root that in athleticism or competitive sport at a collegiate level to the detriment and neglect of your intellectual self, that's a major risk. That's a major risk to take. Focusing on both, be that Renaissance beautiful person. Enjoy this conversation. Love to have see what your comments are going to be and what your next conversation will be with your coaches. Look forward to talking to you guys. On behalf of Champ Life, we'll see you soon in the next lesson. Take care, y'all.